Isn't it interesting?
Can you look what I sent for you?
Um, hmm. Open. Oh boy. How many did you send?
One.
Five. You sent five?
One!
Be nice, or you'll be heard.
Am I heard? I am nice. I'm nice, I sent them to you.
Come on. I don't get it. Evolution of the senses and centers. Is that it? Is that it to you? Evolution of the senses and centers. Aha, that's a nice one. Hmm. That is a nice one.
Look, it's a monad thing.
Yeah, oh, that's
What do
good.
you think?
I like it. I like it a lot. Oh. Huh. Hmm. Why are you doing that? Okay.
The proof is not coming there. The proof I fired.
Okay. Now, are we making this available to people, or what are we doing?
No, not yet.
Are we discussing this with anybody now?
If you want, because now without hearing, you can show now proof.
Yeah.
Okay, and there are the there is the centers. If you would want to add something like the centers which are involved in the
Throat
first
center.
initiation.
Oh yes. Well.
So how it travels,
Right.
and you can make it rather big. This
Well, as big as I can. Wait a second. I can make it a little bigger.
oh,
But
you
this is
take
perfect.
look, you take yes, when you are in the stream.
Yeah, this is
But
perfect
if
because
you can, there is a plus above it because it is it is photo, and you can put as high as possible, and it does not lose the now the.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see? It does not lose the strength.
various paragraphs. How about the
I
first
will
edition?
always come when I want. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I want you, make sure that you do.
Yeah.
You know what? I have a feeling that the way I did this astrology thing, we could have streamed it.
I don't know.
But think of it.
I don't like it.
But think of it. It was
I
just so
don't like it.
impersonal.
Yeah, because you still want it still long. It's so long. You don't go into depth, and I want to go into depth.
I thought I did go into depth. Tuya. Tuya.
You, did you write for them we are
Yeah,
coming?
yeah, yeah.
Because now more people are coming.
What can you say about that? Okay. Okay. Let's see where we are here. Hi, everybody. Wait a second. I got to record here. Hello, hello. Okay, let's see. Record. Record. Test, test. All right, I guess I'm here. Whoops. And here. All right. Have we begun? Looks like we have begun. And I'm just... all right. So everybody requested that I make the text bigger and my own picture smaller. Now, isn't it amazing that I misunderstood it the other way? I said, make your picture bigger. Well, you know, it was so hard to conform to that request, but I sacrificed and I did it. Okay, so, all right, so hopefully you are hearing everything reasonably. And Tuya, I'll turn you up. Do you want to? Now you're up.
Am I not heard?
What, dear?
Do you hear me?
I've just turned you up so you can be heard if you want to be heard. Okay, but I'm not saying you should, but just in case. I turned you up, and hold on here. Maybe I don't have to. Okay, there I go, and I'm going to disconnect myself from my antikarana, and here we go. Is everything good there? Can you see anything?
Yes, one man is iron.
Okay, friends, well, by popular demand, we seem to be moving on with a little bit more about the first initiation. We left with the idea that inspiration was the applied power of transmission. And wait a second, over here, let's just say running a little behind. Hope you can hear lots of switching. Is that how we spell S-W-I-T-C-H? Switching around. Oh, I can't even spell. Okay. Well, we just had a very interesting session. What we did, and we're going to continue it, is we looked at our charts, and we pretended that our chart was going to tell us something about how we could take the first initiation. And tomorrow, our chart will tell us something about how we might take the second initiation, if that was in front of us. Or maybe, you know, the unlikely prospect, the next day we'll say, how could our chart be used to take the third initiation? We might discover that if we were going to take those initiations, the higher ones, that our chart would not be particularly useful. But on the other hand, it might. Because, you know, in this book on the egoic lotus, this video book which I have prepared and which is on Makara, every sign, every planet can be used in every petal of the egoic lotus. So although there are some popular indicators about when initiation comes, you can use anything, any planet or sign or ray to help prepare the way for a particular initiation. They are used a little bit in a different way for each initiation. So, you know, we might try this or something. You know, maybe if Tuya wouldn't mind volunteering, I'll do her charts. Oops, it looks like from the look I'm getting that I might have to do my own, and just show you how it would be if I was preparing for the first initiation with a certain chart, for the second, or for the third, and you know, even for the fourth. But that, you know, just academic information. Now, I just want to show you something that Tuya has created. I think it's very beautiful and very useful. You know, she's doing a lot of charts these days, and to try to expand upon what is already given. And if we were working with the sense of hearing, you know, somehow it's related to the first initiation. You hear the voice of your conscience, and you try to obey that voice. That's the very first sense. Now, you know, it's not so much physical hearing, but it is related to the seventh ray. And you'll see on this chart that the violet is related to the extensions of hearing. Is that not so, Tuya?
Yes, but you know, we have to always remember that everyone's computer is repeating the colors differently. So I can see already in my computer that the violet and the blue are hard to see. Yeah.
But anyway, it looks quite violet. I can see that. And you see, violet is related here to hearing on the gaseous plane. Now, the astral correspondence to the gaseous plane is the fifth level down, and that's as low as we should go, because DK says, look, you should not have any matter of subplane number 6 or subplane number 7 in your astral body. That's working. Okay, good. And then on the mental plane, we have all 7 colors. Interestingly enough, it's the only plane where we are given all 7 powers. And it begins with, interestingly enough, higher clairaudience. See, there is a clairaudience on the astral plane, but a higher clairaudience of a mental kind, which maybe, you know, Alice Bailey was somewhat involved in, along with, you know, spiritual telepathy, of course. This comes on the 7th level. So somehow the throat center is involved, the foundational center, the first initiation, and we hear the voice of the silence. And we may not hear the solar angel directly, but it comes as the voice of conscience. Now, conscience can be 2 different things. It can be everything society has taught us, and it just keeps on repeating, and it's not authentic. Or it can be our deep sense of wisdom speaking up and saying, you know, look, this is right to do, this is not right to do, based upon long wisdom. Now, when we get to the Buddhic plane, we also have a kind of hearing, and it's called comprehension of the 4 sounds. Now, what might those 4 sounds be? Well, you know, maybe they relate to the 4 cosmic ethers of the 4 gates of Shambhala. But anyway, again, hearing is found on the lowest level of that plane, the lowest subplane. And, you know, it's interesting when you take the first initiation, the 7th ray begins to control your throat center. Now, before that, it's all the 3rd ray. But the planet Uranus, which is so strong at the first initiation, relates the sacral center to the throat center. So if the 7th ray is strong in the throat center at the first initiation, you might have a 7th ray mind even, a 7th ray brain. then it makes sense that Uranus could be one of the major rulers at the first initiation of the throat center. Then we go to the atmic plane, and again we see, well, you know, on the Buddhic plane, there's two blank white areas, and that makes a lot of sense because DK says that they refer to powers which are higher even than a master uses. A Chohan of the 6th degree and a Chohan of the 7th degree will use these higher Buddhic powers. Same thing with the atmic plane. Notice there's two blank white spots. A Chohan of the 6th degree and a Chohan of the 7th degree. And since we don't even know what the masters really do, then then let's just say that we have, that we don't have to speculate about what they may be. Now, as far as the monadic and logoic planes go, well, you know, I'm not going to explain this whole chart. It's just too complicated and really excellent, you know. And I think, you know, two of you have done really a great job with this, but it will take some going into, some real going into.
Yeah,
So
I just want to note that what is problem here, or not problem, but we have to realize that the sublanes, when we add the ray, what is related to that particular sense, is a different color than the subplane of the
that's
cosmic
right.
physical plane.
That's right. Well, for some interesting reason, the 7th ray is related to hearing. It gives you, hearing gives you a sense of your location in space. Oh, it came from over there. Oh, it came from up there, over there. See, and location is particularly the 7th ray factor. It lays out everything on the scene and where it is placed relative to other things. So that's one of the important things. How near is something, how dangerous is something, and where is it located? Yeah.
And when we think about initiations again, that the seventh ray is so important in the first initiation.
Exactly.
So the hearing as the sense is also very much related to that. When one thinks about the evolution of the human being, that first we really have to start to hear.
Yeah, yeah. You hear the voice of the silence or the voice of conscience. You hear your soul speak.
Yeah.
The second initiation, you feel the touch of your soul. Third initiation, you see your soul. Now that's on the inner planes, of course, but vision is related to the third initiation because the two eyes become as one eye in the center of the head. Now, I don't know, what can you say about the fourth initiation? Do you taste the presence of the soul? In the fifth initiation, do you smell the fragrance of the soul? You know, all of those higher senses. And then in the sixth initiation, you combine all the senses. And in the seventh initiation, you have completely developed the esoteric sense, which is like infallible knowledge on the cosmic physical plane.
So we start in those, when we think about the evolution of the senses, and you look about the manasic plane. So these two highest are from this formless sense, or senses, spiritual telepathy and response to the group vibration. So they are like a different set of the senses. So there are these 5 senses which are, we could say, like related to form, and they go still until the Buddhic plane. No, I'm atmic plane. And then we move, it looks like that we are moving then into the totally different senses, these esoteric senses. So we have to really, you know, Master DK has been giving a lot for us to contemplate and think about. Actually, I should be adding here these the page number of the senses that you could read about that, their groupings and how they are formulated.
Well, our end goal is to get all of cosmic fire on one map, on one page. All the information in cosmic fire on one page. Either bring a very big magnifying glass or have a page that's as big as a house. Okay, so when you look at the monadic and the logoic planes, they are the truly esoteric planes. Everything below that is from the previous solar system, whose number was 5.
Mm-hmm.
And now we have our present solar system, and our number is 7. So basically what Tuya has done here is correlated the colors with the planes. Now we have no idea yet, I mean colors with the subplanes. We don't know what are those powers that the monad has, the Chohan or the 7th degree Chohan. We don't know. So we just leave it with the colors there to be filled in later. Obviously, Master DK knows something about it, but he just didn't feel it was profitable to put in the particular type of psychic power that was related to these 7 plus 7, the monad and logoic plane. So just as long as you realize the colors are being used in slightly different ways. Sometimes they represent a subplane, and sometimes they are correlated with one of the senses. And
Yes,
with
and the
with
ray
a
related.
you know, you might
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
with a ray. Okay, so I really like the way this looks, and she has some really beautiful ones, you know, and it's going to help us study these things carefully. I won't even get into this. This is the map on page 344, and it really takes us, well, not beyond the galaxy, really, but certainly beyond our local cosmos system.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, here there's different colors for the different maps, you know. Anyway, so very illuminating for those of you who like to learn through the eye. DK said more and more we would be learning through the eye. Now that fits with the Aryan group, the number 5 and the eye of Shiva, the synthesis eye. Some of us are from the past and we like to learn with the ear. So I number myself as among those that listen and talk. You know, it's more the third ray kind of thing.
Yeah, we start with this.
What dear?
Those who have ears, let them hear.
Yes, yes.
And then we come to that, those who have eyes, let them see.
And is there anything else? I'm trying to
Where those who have head, let them use
think.
their head.
Those who have a head, let them think, whatever.
Yes, let them think.
Yeah, okay. All right, now, so we go on, and I just wrote this in red so you would not be misled. These are just, like I say, if you go to Makara, no, you don't even have to go to Makara for this one. You can go to YouTube, Moria Federation Esoteric Education. Just look up, there are on a playlist about initiations. There's the first, second, and third initiation. There are 7, 11, 13. So 7 and 11, 18, 13, 31 programs thus far on initiation. And
there must come these 2 more, that there is 33. But today when we were studying the feminine initiation process, we were looking Durga, which is the pre-modern mother, and symbolism for everything what is going on in cosmos. She has, and to her is related 40 hymns, which is telling us about the secrecy of or the secret wisdom of the mother. So the 40 planes can be considered, the subplanes can be considered the planes of the mother.
See from here? So
going until the third subplane.
This is it right here. The third subplane on the monadic plane.
Yeah.
And everything below that is the plane of the mother, or divisions of the mother aspect. From
or how the mother is involved in creation and involved in manifestation of that creation.
There's so much to learn, and we need what's called the mind of pure reason. Now remember, with Master DK, he tells us, if you go to page 518 of your discipleship book, Discipleship 2, he tells us about 3 different types of second-ray souls. And one of them is the pure wisdom type, that's the Buddha line. And the other is the pure Christ type, that's the love line. Now a lot of people who study with Master DK, they're in on a different type, and it's the ray of the occultist, where they learn all the detail and how to put it together. So, you know, I mean, it may seem, you know, are you pure wisdom? Okay. Are you pure love? Okay. But with Master DK, he has a way of giving us all the details of the sensed whole and how they all fit together into right relations. So it's a different approach to the second ray, and it's also the second ray. Yeah.
And when thinking about initiations, coming back to that idea, what is the point of all of this? We must remember always that there is a purpose behind every incarnation. And thinking about these higher beings, those great ones who are giving from themselves as the mother and the father. Think about your own children, or if you don't have children, you have certainly some ones that you care and you have wanted to give your presence and your help and guidance. That this movement, this great movement, what is happening on earth at the moment, that these inner beings who are focused upon humanity at the moment, that we would evolve. Because there are those greater cycles behind. When we think, when we were studying, or we were pointing out today about Kanji, Mother Kanji, the cosmic energy inflow. So there are those inflows every now and then, which are really like waves when you study the waters, which are having the waves, and then comes the so-called 7th wave, which is the highest, which it takes us longest. So there's something, this kind of thing happening, why this is called the days of opportunity. We can take a huge leap at the moment. And that is one of the reasons that I understand why the great ones are so focused upon these planes and upon the evolving humanity. Master DK, who has been taking in that thought, there were those masters, Moria and Kutumi, who were thinking that the greater teaching could be released to humanity, and there was in the hierarchy not the consensus that should be done, but they were on that opinion, and then Sanat Kumara was agreeing with that and was giving permission. So then in that will or that decision, Master DK, because of being the disciple of Kutumi, took also a huge responsibility trying to teach the Western disciples. This teaching is going on. So, as I said, behind every incarnation there is a purpose, but we so seldom think about that purpose. Why is that? Because it's the most essential thing of us. So that we have to make this transformation. We have to push so much that we are standing as souls on earth. Okay, they say that not maybe necessarily only this life, but then when we think about that the time of the forerunners is ending in 7 years, it must mean something. Like it was in the time of Jesus, was that John the Baptist came and he was fulfilling his job. When we think about this process between Jesus and Christ, they were so successful. It was the most successing thing happening so far on earth. But to that is related the third point, who is John the Baptist. He too, he was successful. So we are the third point for something which is coming, which is on the way. We should be successful as well. And this initiation, every one of us, we are preparing to some initiation. We have gone, hopefully, we have gone through something. But certainly, these, because we think about that initiation means about the expansion of consciousness. We should, every one of us, when we leave this incarnation, our consciousness should have been expanded at least somewhat.
Yes, and these days, as you said, the opportunity for expansion is very, very considerable. Because the hierarchy is behind it. The time has come. The cycles are right. The initiation of humanity is happening. So it's unusual time of pressure and opportunity, and some danger, you know, that we might be delayed and not enter the Aquarian age as we should, delayed for hundreds of years, even 300 years is the figure he gives. Could be a delay of that much. Elsewhere he says, watch out, because we might have to start humanity all over again if you don't do it right. So we have a very heavy responsibility now.
And thinking about this, that the humanity itself is heading towards the first initiation. And look, all kinds of problems, what we have now on physical plane. We have the effect of the global warming. Does it belong to the plan? Well, at least several species are dying because of that. Great change in that sense. All this, what is related to food, how, what is the word when you operate or manipulate food? What is the word in it?
Genetic engineering and
GMO.
HMO.
Right. So all of that is happening,
GMO.
which is related directly to the body. And the body should be very strong and healthy. We have enormous, horrible diseases going around. It is also the purification process, we know that. But also there is something which tries to stop evolving humanity. We must see these effects, what they are doing. We are losing good water, which is directly again related to the etheric side of physical plane. We have what else problems we have?
Fires.
We have fires. It is said that the initiation is coming in the form of fire, so that is something which is going on.
We have the drying up of the earth.
Right.
The earth. So some places will become uninhabitable, but look, remember that our planetary logos is passing through a kind of fourth initiation.
Right.
In that scale of 7. That's drastic. So naturally enough,
All this
it's
volcanic.
not just that we're putting things in the air. We are, but there's more to it.
Surely.
Yeah.
Surely. But we see that these challenges, and now also the movement of the body of humanity, that there are millions of people moving their places. It has been always when a new type of thing has happened, great movements before that. So,
migrations.
Yeah.
It's Uranus. If you go into astrology, you find out that when Uranus is active, migrations occur. That's the planet of the first initiation.
Absolutely.
Pluto is dragging everything to the surface. We're seeing a lot of very unpleasant things.
Yeah.
And Vulcan is making military arms like never before. Lasers and all kinds of deadly weapons,
Yeah.
And, you know, airplanes that are flying like rockets. I mean,
Yeah.
we have some challenges here.
Very, very deep challenges, and that's why the key thing is about the group of disciples, the men and women of goodwill, but especially the disciples are the key thing on earth. How we are making the change within us, how we become enough powerful that we can be the posts here down to earth to hold everything within us in balance. Hold these powers. As he said, that we must fight on the mental plane.
Yeah.
And it is precipitating very near the physical via the astral nature, because as you know, the astrality is rampant in many parts of the world. And if you see some of the leaders, how ugly way they can speak about the other people, other nations.
Well, you know, this is the 5th root race. This is the end of the 5th sub-race of the 5th root race. This is Venus. This is the Ajna center. This is intelligent thought linking the higher mind and the lower mind. A lot of work has to be done on the mental plane. And of course, the internet has the potential to do this.
That's right.
You know, people in the jungle, they're not more than 5 miles from the computer, the internet. So it's just amazing in terms of its educational potentials.
Yeah, that has been one of the agenda of the United Nations. Was it by the 2030 or 2040? I don't remember what it was. That the goal of the United Nations is that the how do you say it? That the single human being on Earth should have only in 10 kilometers range distance the computer.
Yeah. So that's amazing.
So that every human being on Earth has to have the, or was it in 5 kilometers
like
range?
5,
yeah.
Or 6, and the potentials are immense, but the disciples have to hold their position. Now that didn't happen before World War II. There just were not enough, and they just were not strong enough. Now this time, we don't dare be anything else, and we have to help the battle stay on the mental, psychological plane, so it does not precipitate drastically on the physical plane. Let's maybe go ahead here, a few more of these. Yes, we've done 8 pages of 23. That's not bad. That's pretty good. 1/3 of this compilation. Talking about the first initiation again, how it will be an outer thing. He says, you know how masters, they see things in terms of centuries. We just see, a few years ahead. Before many centuries pass, the old mysteries will be restored, and an inner body will exist in the church of the period, of which the nucleus is already forming, wherein the first initiation will become exoteric, in this sense only, that the taking of the first initiation will, before so very long, be the most sacred ceremony in the church, performed exoterically as one of the mysteries given at the stated period and attended by those concerned, and the Masons will do the same thing, and maybe the banded esoteric organisms, the new esoteric schools, will do the same thing, and those who are ready for it will be admitted to the lodge, he uses a Masonic term, by one of its members, authorized to do so by the Christ, the great Hierophant himself. And it will be given as the great service ritual of the universal religion. The New World religion, with its head center, heart center, and solar plexus, coming out of Russia, of all places, he says, although, the United States will be part of that, is the seventh ray soul of Russia that's involved. Now, this is interesting because it tells about what we're going to see at the time. The race of men will then, in its most advanced brackets and groups in every country in the world, be normally clairvoyant, and will therefore see for themselves the light within the candidate, the light in the head, and so forth. And they will know then that the first initiation is justified. That person has the right to take the first initiation. And they will also see the same light burning, let us say, in thousands, even millions, who have in previous incarnations taken that first initiation. So what an occult, I know it's hot, boy, it's hot here. Imagine Finland in the heat. So just imagine that we're able to see these things, see the etheric light, see that part of the aura, and know for ourselves that occultism is real. And this is what Madame Blavatsky means when she says, look, we've got to win by the end of the 21st century. That's now. We have to win. Occultism must win the day by the end of the 21st century. She used a slightly different word, okay. So the seventh ray is going to help with that. We're going to be a lot healthier, he says. Because the seventh ray is coming, our health will improve, and more resilient bodies will be built, more responsive, more energized, and so forth.
Yeah, that is the plan of the hierarchy, and that's why one can see the Black Lord is trying to destroy as much as possible. And one of the reasons why we are getting the answers for the how to restore the health is that the masters are what's the word again in English? Consulting Kshiti, the Rajadeva Lord of Kshiti, and his helpers. Kshiti is the one who is the overviewer, overseer of the physical plane.
Rajadeva Lord.
Rajadeva Lord of the physical plane.
Kshiti.
So we have also the huge Kshiti, because this is the cosmic physical plane. So there is a huge cosmic city, and then our city, who has these helpers and the devas of the shadows, the violet devas, who are building up the etheric body. So they are consulting now the masters, and masters are doing new plans for the seventh ray era.
And it's very interesting that we're told that the two Rajadeva lords, Kashiti and Varuna, lord of our planetary astral plane, they both go into Shambhala, and they both consult with Sanat Kumara about the next moves and the plans. So maybe some of the other Rajadeva lords do too, but right down here on the emotional and physical level, it seems very, very important. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lower expression of Agni is not also there. Because Agni is ruling the mental plane, but it's also much, much more. But you just saw Tuya use the principle of analogy. She said, look, if we've got a Kashiti for our etheric physical plane, then our whole cosmic physical plane must be the realm of the cosmic Kashiti. See, and so it goes, cosmic Varuna, cosmic Agni, and so forth. So the law of analogy is the great interpretive law. Now, it tells us here that we're stepping into the spiritual. Boy, it's hot. Tuya asked me why I had the lights on in here, just burning the lights for no reason. It was so that I wouldn't notice the sun.
Now the sun is moving behind us, so we have the temple, huge big windows. They are directed to the west, and now the sun is moving to the west. It's really much there on the west.
We're about to have a real meltdown here. If this program stops, you'll know what happened to us. We'll both be puddles under the desk.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, we're if we have made this transition, you know, and all transitions are pretty rough when it comes to planets and lots of people and lots of kingdoms, but we've stepped into the spiritual kingdom. We're moving out of the definitely human kingdom into the superhuman kingdom. Now, you're still a human being, you're still a man, as he says, until the fifth initiation. When you're a Chohan, you're not. They are no longer men as are the masters, it says in this rule, whatever it is, you know, one of the rules there. They are no longer men as are the masters, but having stepped beyond this point, they've linked themselves with the highest center. So, we had a big deal happen long ago, 18.5 million years ago for many, but not for all, even earlier for all. The man passed out of the animal kingdom into the human at individualization on this planet 18.5 million years ago. Now, some people did that, and other people came from the moon chain billions of years ago. And so he entered upon the life of the spirit. Notice how he uses this word spirit pretty liberally, and for the first time has the right to be called a spiritual man in the technical significance of the word. I mean, you know, that's when the monad gets into the soul, as it were, and begins its subtle influence upon the soul. So we just showed the map earlier, right, you know, and you can see what DK has drawn and what Tuya has shown. We won't even talk about this higher triangle just yet. Master DK didn't do that one, but we extended the thought a little bit. But here's the monad going right down into the soul. Its consciousness narrows and goes right down into the heart of the soul. So at the first initiation, that's really what happens in a strong way. And from that time on, we are, as it were, guided by the spirit, which is the extension of the monad. All right, so there we are becoming spiritual for the first sense. Now really, a man doesn't become a human being until the third initiation. He's very much controlled by Mars. Mars is the animal. Mars is, in a way, the head of the animal kingdom. But something happens at the third degree. Do you remember what happens at the third degree relative to Mars? Okay, so Vulcan beats Mars. Love can, Vulcan, you know. Vulcan, the spiritual will of the soul, the spiritual will of the triad, triumphs over non-sacred Mars in a big, big conflict, as they say, and I wonder if I can, this is an experiment because I'm just not at all sure that I'm allowed to do this with this funny, wonderful new computer. Excellent young man, put it all together for, you know, a lot lower price than you'd ever get it if you tried to buy it, you know. So anyway, this is let's try this at 150, and I'm just going to give it a try. I have no idea how this is going to work. This is esoteric astrology, and it's page 71, and you're going to learn here about the big battle. So let's see what happens. Okay, whoa. All right, there it is. So, at the third initiation, the moon, veiling a hidden planet. Do you know where Vulcan is? It's okay, nobody does. Okay. Well, I can't say nobody, but we average human beings, we don't know.
It is
but maybe David Walters
near
knows.
Sun.
David, he's the man from Vulcan. You know,
Michael, it's near the sun.
Thank you, dear. Tuya.
That's right.
Yeah.
Either on the left or on the right.
We have a group opinion here that Vulcan is near the sun. So I just want you to realize how smart we all are here Vulcan is near the sun.
Either on the left side or the right side of the sun.
Okay, okay. Well, it could be in front or in back.
That's right.
And
That's right.
that's it. Vulcan is getting closer and closer, and that's why we're all heating up here.
We
At
are
the third
really-
initiation, the moon veiling a hidden planet, because look, Uranus is no longer hidden, is it? Neptune is no longer hidden. Before the days of telescopes, you know, you couldn't see them. Pluto, who would know? The moon and Mars bring about a fearful conflict, but at the end, the man is released from personality control. So, you can see that Mars is non-sacred, but something happens, particularly at the third initiation, where Vulcan triumphs over Mars. And even at the second initiation, that whole battle begins. But finally, the conflict is won by the planet of spiritual will. And so that's why at the third degree, the monad really gets into the act. Okay, just, you know, enough so that we say, what is that? You know, what else is here? Something else is here. Remember that you will take the first and second initiation on the ray of the soul, but according to DK, the ray of the monad does get involved in the third initiation and then on to the fourth and the fifth. So changes can occur in your psyche as you start to attune with that other vibration, which Vulcan is helping to bring to you, you see. Okay, now, wherever we are.
And
Yes, dear.
adding a little bit about the Vulcan is the one who is shaping, so it's the shaping the form, the shaping the, again, the body, in relationship to that the body can carry forth the higher energy of the spiritual life.
Okay, here someone has no sound or picture, but
Then it is about
it's
iTunes.
a local adjustment, Veronique, I'm sorry. Check your mute and
in the she has to check also that in the screen, in YouTube screen, her computer and the YouTube screen,
And-
both of them.
and use the right. Oh goodness, I'm afraid I'm okay. Well, that's what I meant to say before my computer acted up and I just lost everything. Sorry. Anyway, check your screen and check your
Computer.
Yeah.
So we are sorry that there
Yeah,
are
I'm very
still
sorry
going
about
on
that.
some of
But
the
it happens,
private
you know.
conversation.
No, we never get 100% reliability. We just don't get that. And let's see if I can. Oh.
Michael, let us just
No,
move
no,
on.
I will go on, but I lost myself, dear. You know how you can lose yourself here?
Yes, my husband has been lost. 1 second, we try to find Michael Robbins.
Okay, I'm
He's somewhere,
I'm somewhere,
in the
I'm
computers.
somewhere, but I'm having a little trouble being who I am at the moment.
So
there we
Michael
are.
has the problem of the Leo energies. He does not know
Oh,
about.
okay. Veronique says thanks. It's okay now. Hey,
Okay.
quick
One
fix.
is saved. Hello, welcome,
All
Veronica.
my wife had to do was speak, and it's all fixed. You know, perfect. All right, everybody. So now, look, initiation is a very technical matter in some ways. It's got a lot of fifth ray to it. So, what are your bodies made of? They're made of atoms, right? And the atoms are very subtle and smaller and vibrate faster and faster on the higher planes. So, you know, in Tuya's chart here, we'll also give DK a little credit. The atomic plane is found, the atomic subplane is found here as the first subplane of each of these planes, okay?
Do you
The first-
see the chart?
What, dear?
We don't see the chart.
You will in a second.
Yeah.
Okay, well, okay.
So I mean that because Michael, you are talking, I don't see that on the screen.
I wonder what you're tuned into.
I have the YouTube going on.
Yeah, but what YouTube? Because I'm doing here a reference instrument, and the chart is right there. So the two of you, so check what link you're using. What link are you using? It should end with the word live, L-I-V.
Yeah, you are moving in the picture. Do you see on the screen, YouTube, the map?
Okay, Tuya, let Tuya go over there and see what she's supposed to see. Okay. All right, maybe, I don't know, Catherine, if you can help her or something. You're pretty technical. I don't know what's going on there. But
No,
it should
doesn't
end in the
matter.
word live. Do you want Catherine to give you a hand?
I have, Michael.
Oh,
I have that live, but
I've
I don't know what.
okay. Anyway, when you take the first initiation, your astral vehicle and your mental vehicle, and maybe your physical vehicle as well, etheric part anyway, is composed only of 25% of the highest matter. And it keeps going up. When you take the second degree, you get 50% of the highest matter of the plane. And then 75% when you take the third degree. And when you take the fourth degree, it's all atomic matter. And maybe that's one of the reasons that these vehicles get destroyed. It's just too much for them, you know. In other words, suppose you have etherically 100% atomic matter at the fourth degree. The physical body won't be able to stand it, you know, and the inner powers will break free. When you want to destroy a causal body, it's not just from one angle that you destroy it. The monad gets into the act, the Buddhic plane gets into the act, the solar angel gets into the act, the jewel in the lotus gets into the act, and one other thing, the little atomic triangle made of the mental unit, the astral permanent atom, and the physical permanent atom starts to rotate at a tremendous fiery speed and burns up everything around it. So this is the liberation that we all seek if we can properly cultivate our sense of values and our sense of reality. Remember that the Buddha, in whom the seeds of the first solar system ripened, I mean, that's such an interesting statement. Did he come from the first solar system? We certainly know he came from the moon chain. The seeds of the wisdom of the first solar system ripened in the Buddha. Who were his students? A bunch of fourth degree initiates, or becoming fourth degree initiates. Arhats, they were called. The Christ had, being more, for the masses and so forth, fewer of that type. But these were high types, born on the moon chain, you might say, individualized, or who knows, previous solar system. Although I don't want to get too much into detail, but it looks to me as if the Buddha could have well been from the previous solar system and the Christ from this one. Okay, we know that the Buddha is moon chain and the Christ is earth chain. We know that contrast, but do we know a solar systemic contrast? See, so if the seeds of the earlier solar system ripened in the Buddha, how did those seeds get planted? Maybe he was there, you see. So because he has a third ray monad, the Buddha, at least one of his monadic rays is the third ray. Okay, so anyway, the matter of your bodies gets more and more refined. It's what we call transmutation, right? And transformation is more about emotional change, and transfiguration is more about mental change. Okay, the first initiation, it means you just get started. You're the babe. You can just learning to walk. You just get started. It means commencement, but if we don't have, and occultists got to remember this, I have to remember it, everybody does, you've got to have good character, otherwise your house will come tumbling down.
Michael, I was just wanting to point out and define certain things that when we talk about the changes in atomic matter, I think it is the vertical happening and not in that sense only horizontal. That when we talk about the 1/4 and 2/4 and 3/4 is in all of the bodies. Even though the effect, when we think about the first initiation, it is like all of the body parts of the other vehicles too.
Also change, but a bit slower. See what I mean? Because your concentration is on etheric physical.
That's right.
And then at the second degree, your concentration is on emotional. So everything keeps changing. The physical keeps changing, the mental keeps changing, but then the astral fastest. And then so it goes. I mean, because, really, you're not done with etheric physical transmutation or emotional transformation until the third initiation is completed, and maybe not even then entirely.
Yeah, I think it is not even then. It is when we go through the fourth initiation, then it is the completion.
Perfection.
Perfection
When
on
something
these
is
planes.
perfected,
Yeah, on these planes.
But perfection is the fourth power of the atomic plane. And when a thing is perfect, that's it. Evolution has no more use for it. It uses it for a while, but then what's the next expansion? And that next expansion involves focusing without a causal body on the Buddhic plane. So that lies ahead for us if we will just use our time well, study hard, meditate deeply, and serve the best we can. It's very simple, hard to do, but simple to understand, okay? Now, as I was telling everybody here, I've made 13 programs, or 14, I don't know, 13 or 14, 13 programs on the first initiation, and they're on YouTube. And, so you see things that are written here in blue. It means I've gone over them and talked about them. However, every time you look at what Master DK has written, you always get a different perspective. Some new light comes in. It's never duplicated entirely. We always see a new angle. And we should never say, oh yeah, I read that book. Because if you read it 5 times, what was really behind it will really start to emerge. So he says the words of a master have special power. He warned people in California. He says, you're changing all my words. You're watering it down. You're trying to make it so that nobody has to work to think about what I'm saying. Don't change my words.
Yeah, I was just thinking in the morning in our meditation something about that, how the evolution, how it moves forward. We know that this initiation is about the expansion of the consciousness. But then also in that same thing, expansion of consciousness, evolution happens. When we think about the first initiation, let's say 2 million years ago, for those rare people, was different. It's like that we are starting, and when we think about our kids, when they go to the so-called first grade, they are already before that in kindergarten, and they are already taught there, which was not, let's say, 100 years ago. So the basic level of the average humanity is so high that it is like in that place where it was for those first degrees in earlier times. So that's why the demands for this first degree has also risen. And from what I was thinking, one can see is that the sacred teaching, what was kept only for rare people, is now public.
Yes.
Very much. There are, of course, esoteric sides of the teachings, but like Dalai Lama was considering, and I think it is going on in the hierarchy, that it's better to give to this thirst, the spiritual thirst that humanity has, it's better to give them good truthful knowledge, then let this kind of rampant ideas or channeled message going on. Also, humanity has to be straightened up. But why this is possible is because humanity itself is learned. Almost in every country, the literature rate is coming at least to 60%, 70% of
It's a race
popularity.
is on, you know, between the people who can think and those who can be led by a demagogue. We've had terrible demagogues in the 20th century. Mussolini, Hitler. Now we're having other demagogues who are speaking to the lowest aspect of man, and the poor people, they can't see through it. So it's a race is on between education and instinct, you might say, the lower instincts. We're told in the Bible somewhere that the secrets of the kingdom of heaven will be shouted from the rooftops. And that goes along with what Tuya was saying. The things that were held so close and you didn't dare breathe about them, now everybody knows about them. So occultism then goes even deeper, and the secrets become even more interior. So we have to share these secrets in the right way. Now, whenever I talk to Christian people, I say, okay, great. You know what's in the Bible, and that's good. What about the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven that Jesus talked to his disciples about? He says, to them I speak in parables, but to you I speak of the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. What about those? They never made their way into the Bible. Don't you want to know about those? And because now it is possible. The secret wisdom tradition that so many people have sacrificed for. So many people have died protecting that tradition. That's why the alchemists had to pretend they were doing something stupid so they could preserve their inner transformative process.
And when thinking about science, for instance, when we talk about the occultism, the science, how science is dividing now the matter in small and smaller particles, and what that is pure occultism. Even though it is concrete, but how these scientists have come up with these very advanced and enlightened ideas because of studying these smaller and smaller principles, which is giving us then the means for humanitarian times, which is related to the fifth ray. This is how the average human being is also taught, and it is making the basic. These are the good sides.
In occultism, it tells us that the smallest unit of life on the cosmic physical plane is the bubble in the koilon. And that the atom, the physical or etheric atom, I guess they're etheric, maybe physical atom, is made of 14 billion bubbles in the koilon. So it's so fifth ray precise, and these tiniest little, whatever they are, keep on, there's certain numbers that make each atom as you rise and rise and rise and rise. Always less and less and less. The atoms of the higher planes are much simpler than the atoms of the physical plane. But that's the kind of occultism that is waiting for scientists to discover. They haven't the slightest notion that these things exist on those levels. They're discovering something about the fourth ether and the third ether. But what we're talking about is etheric construction on the logoic plane. And nobody even suspects that such a thing exists. So it'll be yet a while. We have to deal with the etheric body first, the one that's really close to us. And even that is quite a job. Have you heard about this CERN atom smasher collider or whatever it is?
Yes, that.
You know, just billions of dollars going into that, and they're looking for the God particle, and they're trying to find the next little constituent in subatomic particle physics and all that. And that's just the beginning. That's just our little etheric plane, not the ethers of the astral, of the mental, of and so forth. So wow, what a... but we can't release too much, and that's where the hierarchy is really Libra, because it understands if you release too much knowledge, humanity will kill itself.
Mm.
You know, and
Yeah,
that,
because it's purely
Yeah.
power. The knowledge is power.
And that's why, from the year 1950 to the year 2000, at least minimum, the fifth ray ashram was withdrawn.
Mm.
And the power of the fifth ray ashram came under the third ray. You know how it goes 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7. So the fifth ray pursuits came under the third ray instead of being its own adventuring thing. Look, even now, we're threatening to destroy each other with lasers. You know what I mean?
Mm.
We're using high-powered technology to threaten each other, okay? So just imagine if too much knowledge came too fast. And that's why the hierarchy is really a balancing body. You know, we're very fortunate about that. Well, anyway, basically he's telling us, in all of your lives, let theory become fact. You've got a lot of theory. What's the fact? You've got a causal body that doesn't have too much Christ principle in it, but then what happens when the Buddhic principle and the solar angel really begin to flood the causal body? It changes. The love energy is really there. It moves up one whole level, right? Isn't this how it does it to you?
Where?
This thing here, look. So many of us have the causal body here on the third subplane.
Again, I don't have this. Do you have the chart?
It'll take it takes 15 seconds.
Now I have it.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
It takes 50 or maybe 8 seconds, whatever.
Yeah.
Here's the causal body on the second sub-level
Mm-hmm.
of the mental plane, where it should be for all people who are approaching spirituality. So all of these are technical matters, and the more love there is in the causal body, the more the love petals open, the more elevated the causal body will be, the more Buddhic, the more Christ-oriented, the more the love of the solar angel will come through. You know, in the beginning, for the caveman or whatever we were in those days, it's not all about love, wisdom. It's all about instinct, you know, getting your next meal, you know, protecting yourself from your enemies. It's so very physical, that first petal, that lasts millions of years.
Mm.
It's very physical. With all those petals, they last less and less and less and less time, until you can have the last 3 petals open in one life after they've been cultivated a bit. And in the beginning, it's just millions of years in the hall of ignorance. Now, we've all been in the hall of ignorance. And finally, when one day we wake up and we see our incarnations, you know, it's going to be like, did I do that, you know, and we'll see all the ways we were misled, and we misled ourselves and misled others and delayed our progress. But you have to be ready for that revelation, because if you're not, it'll kill you. You know what I mean? You got to be, you know, you got to know you are not your personality before you can be given that type of vision. Because otherwise you just identify with it and you just go to pieces over all of the indiscretions and wrongs that have been committed. You have to be, read the Akashic records. You have to be a high initiate, I would say, to do it right, I would say.
Yeah, that is the interesting. That is the interesting thing. Upon what plane, or which planes, Akashic records are? Are these the whole monadic plane, or are they now on the third plane?
Well, there's different ways of reading the records. They're even in the astral light, down in the astral
The reflections,
plane.
right? Yeah.
But something where you can gain knowledge.
Yeah.
And I would suppose, this is my guess, okay, that since the third ray is the Lord of history, the Lord of memory, I have a feeling it's connected with the third subplane of the astral plane.
Astral plane,
Yeah, astral
not
plane.
monadic.
Well, first you deal with what's at hand, and then you discover that it's all stored in the soul and the triad and the monad.
Because you know, about these 40 planes, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, the history factor. The history factor. Look, this is a good time to invite everybody to our next conference. This is conference number 33.
Right.
And it's going to be called something.
Oh, 33 conference, wow.
Four runners of the light.
Yes, everybody has to come with their own torture.
Torch.
Torch?
Not torture, no dear. Torch.
Yes, but the torture, it's torture to carry that.
Four runners of the light, illuminating and manifesting the divine plan. It's really a third ray title, and you know, the third ray is so important in getting it right.
Yes, yes.
So,
So we have to do something special.
Yeah, we do. Right memory is a big factor, right? You're always emphasizing that. Right memory, and the Buddha did too.
Yeah.
See, and that's the third ray, the Lord of memory.
Right. I have been studying this memory because it has been some of my issues whole of my life. That what is that in human tendency? To what that is based upon that human being has so wrong memory. Buddha was emphasizing it is one of the spokes of the Noble
Eightfold Path.
Eightfold Path. One spoke. And when you study about the mythology or the legends of the wheel, so when we talk about the divine wheel, all the spokes are the carrying, what is that, pillars. So you cannot take any of the spokes away.
Right. Right.
So the right memory belongs to that you become the full standing entity. And right memory, I'm looking this what is happening on mental plane, on the concrete mental plane, in our brains. There is something about the Devic substance, which is this Kamamanasic Devic substance. It is so tortured, distorted, distorted, that it scatters, it cannot hold. You know, like a memory is something that you can take a snapshot from that particular thing, and it had to stay in your memory. But if that is not, that these devas, these tiny devas or elementals, they cannot carry it. And why they cannot carry is because a human being is using the sound, the word wrongly, is building up the wrong truth, the wrong news.
And the medium of impression becomes unstable.
That's right, because these devas cannot be aligned, so they are scattered. That's why the memory is scattered, because if a person is not practicing truth, because the truth will hold these Devic lines in order. They start to become, that is Antakarana building, so the foundation have to be strong. They have to be aligned. That's why when you study about the fourth ray, why the fourth ray is used in manifestation with the seventh ray, is that it is particular in that, what is that in English, when you... Arrangements and then perception. And, oh gosh, I'm sorry about this English. But anyway, fourth ray is so particular that it has to be precise that and not something else, because of the holding power of the energies. That is building up about Devic form. So this is what I have been studying during the years, that those people who have really problems of bringing the truth, that they find easier way to escape by telling all kinds of stories which are not based upon that what really happened. And that's why their memory is never lasting.
Mm.
So it's very
It is very interesting.
important thing us
Yeah.
to understand that if we really want to get impressions, that because our memory has to be built also to that, and that is what DK was teaching about the symbols which are given in the initiation ceremony, that the Hierophant is giving you in one point some
You have
of
to work on your memory to make sure it stays
that
with you.
exactly.
Mm.
And he was giving these groupings of symbolism for us to practice, and he says, start now.
Mm.
Do you
There will
remember
help
in the
later.
conference we are picking up those scrolls? And those scrolls have something from that series of symbols what DK was giving for us to practice. All the time practice that our mind starts to work with the physical brain, that it is really implemented on our physical phenomenon, that we remember correctly. We are able to repeat it correctly.
Mm. Right, right. Otherwise, you really have a very shaky foundation.
Yes.
And the third ray is called the builder of the foundation. And we have the old saying that if we're ignorant of history, we're doomed to repeat it. We can't learn. So, okay, so that is another one of those technical things that a student of spiritual occultism has to master. The right memory for the right foundation for the truth. And I once saw a kind of a documentary of a woman. She looked very third rate. She was a compulsive liar, and she couldn't help but lie.
That's right.
Everything she said was a lie, and you just could see this thing taking over her as she
Right.
misrepresented the truth in one answer after another. It was just fascinating.
You know, yes, fascinating to study how it happens, and pointing to that, there is something related to sexual misuse of sexual powers, because the sacral center and the throat is connected. So in the throat center, even though it is one of the higher centers, but still it is related so much to this third phenomenon, third ray phenomenon, that if we are misusing something, we are misusing also that building process, that these elementals that we need to build into our system is weakened. And that's why it is not able to carry forth the soul impulses. They are carrying the lower impulses, like these liars, pathological liars, that they... It's
amazing.
It just happened immediately.
Yeah, yeah,
Misleading immediately.
yeah.
And there was also one documentary about those investigators, or how you call them when you in police department, when you interview.
Inspectors, investigators.
Yes, when you interview the criminals.
Yeah.
That how they study everything in you, your eyes, your body language. Of course, I don't know how much they are using their inner senses to read about the ethers, but I am sure that it is coming. But that is pure science.
Yeah.
How it is implemented
Yeah.
in the body when there is a lie.
Plus intuition, seeing it.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that is about reading the body messages.
Reading the symbolism, discernment of what is spiritual and what is not. It's on the third sub-level of the mental plane. Well, look, we really haven't got much more time now at all. Basically, at the first initiation, the physical body is controlled to a great extent. And as it says, the sins of the flesh are dominated, and gluttony, drink, licentiousness, all that must no longer hold sway. Sometimes people suffer tremendously because of these sins, and they're really willing to become an aspirant after they hit the bottom, and it all happens in the fifth pedal there. So a general, let's just say the physical elemental will no longer be immediately obeyed. You know, in the in the beginning, you I got a hiccup here. Sorry. In the beginning, when the body wants something, you just do it. That's it. It just does it. Now you control it, and a general attitude of obedience to the higher, to the ego, to the soul, must be very strong. A willingness, at least. You're not going to be perfect, but there's the obedience to the higher command. There's still a struggle. It goes on, but there is at least obedience.
So these three Hydra heads, sex, ambition, no, not
Sex,
ambition,
money, and comfort.
And comfort, they are the things what has to be in somewhat overpowered by the soul in the first initiation.
Yeah.
And I think comfort is, like sex is a huge problem. Money, of course, oh my gosh, all of them, they are really demanding for us. But then thinking about the comfort, how much it was in earlier times. But when we think about all these pleasures of the modern world, it is one of those things which is challenging the human living. When I think about the disciples, that how many are always checking, well, how is going to be my bed? Do I have a private bathroom? And can I be alone in the room? And all of those things, they are about comfort factors. We are not anymore willing to give up those.
It's very much an inverted Venus kind of thing. You know, the three outer petals are earth petals. And Venus is very important when it comes, the inversion of Venus. Now, the interesting thing in astrology, when you turn the glyph of Venus upside down, you get one of the glyphs for Mars.
Right.
Mars is inverted Venus.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically that's the whole instinctual life just running itself. And now at the first degree, we gain control of that. Not perfectly, but we gain control.
Right.
So we just are not a person driven and run by our instincts only.
And in that relationship to money, we have to look how much we are using money for this kind of personal desires, which the disciple has to win in oneself. Yeah. In humanity, we see that in one sense it is understandable when we think about the very hard lives that the whole humanity has had, past lives. So maybe it is about that how the, like a kid when they are getting first time a lot of their own money, they are spending that money for themselves. But that is what we must study in us and look in us. And then thinking about the sex industry, which is out of range in humanity. So that those problems are facing humanity, and they are really on our faces. We see them.
Okay. Well, this is it, everybody. So 5:30 is our time here, and 2:30 in GMT, and we'll be coming back. We are having a period of silence here.
Yes.
And maybe you will want to do the same thing. Some of we have a nice group watching, and it's varied in number over the days, and I think you can get a lot out of this. And later you can go to YouTube if you've missed something, and you can download the program and participate in that. But at 8:30 is when Tuya leads a meditation related to first initiation.
So we have this speeded up process, so be with us, it's worthwhile. So today we go the first initiation through, and tomorrow it is the second, and so forth. So come along with us if you want to advance in your process.
We keep on, we do this time after time, so you get to take the first, second, and third initiation many times.
That's
and probably it's needed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, we thank for you all being with us, and we are hoping that you have been gaining something. What I would like to express also, that please come to Finland. It's lovely to be together. next time, next year. And we will meet again, and we go into silence here. So if you want to practice silence with us, so please do that. We wish you beautiful evening and morning, whatever it is your time zone.
Okay.
So
Onward. Okay, thank you for attending. I know it's different all over the world, and people have different times and occasions. So thank you for being here, and all of this is accessible. I think we have about 2,000 programs or so on YouTube. I mean, that's just a drop in the bucket compared to what we've done and what we have coming. So there's a lot that you can listen to and study. And then you go to Makara, there's a lot of written material. Come and join the Moria Federation, and we'll put you to work for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And by the time you get out of it, you won't be the same person. Okay. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see
okay,
you.
bye-bye from
Bye-bye. We'll see you a
Finland.
little later. Bye-bye.